snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do a kind of different video. One of my subscribers asked me if I could do a video about some of my favourite fantasy characters from books because she was really interested in characters, and I am also very interested in characters. I do believe that if you have a good character, it can turn a book that is only okay into a really interesting, fun and exciting book. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tell you guys about some of my favourite characters. This isn't in any particular order, these are all just characters that I really enjoy and which really bring the books that I'm reading to life for me. So yeah, let's get started. So the first character is from the Mistborn books, and that is Sazed. Sazed is a character who is all about religion. He loves religion, he loves teaching people about different religions. He is a really interesting character. I am not a religious person, but he is so well thought out, the way that he describes these religions to other people. He doesn't believe in all of these religions, but he feels that it's important to teach people about these religions and hopefully find them their own religion that they can believe in that suits their personality. And I thought that was a really, really wonderful way of thinking about religion. It's a really nice thing that Brandon Sanderson has put into these books. He's a really awesome character in his own right as well, not just for the fact that he likes talking about different religions, but also for the fact that he's very wise, he's very conscientious, and he's a very interesting character all round. He just radiates knowledge and he radiates a strongness and a sense of self about himself. He always seems to know what he's doing, he always seems to understand what is right and what is wrong, and he's a very good person to go to for counsel. So I really love his character. I think he's definitely one of my favourite characters of all time. I just think that he makes those books so much better, he makes them so interesting, and he really brings a whole new dimension to those books because religion is not a huge part of them. He really makes it into a key part of the story and he becomes a very, very key character very quickly. And I just loved his personality. I thought he was absolutely wonderful as a character, and he really is the standout character for me from that series. Even though he's not the main character, the main characters are Kelsier and Vin. He is not the main character, but he is a great, great sideline character who is just really awesome. So if you ever read the Mistborn series, then yeah, let me know what you think of Sazed because I really like his character. Moving on to a character from Game of Thrones, the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin. My favourite character from this series has got to be, and it's very predictable, I'm sure it's yours as well, is Tyrion Lannister. I love Tyrion Lannister. The quotes that he has are just so funny. He is intelligent beyond a lot of the other characters within this, and he is very, very quick-witted. He comes up with all sorts of very, very intelligent, funny, witty little retorts to whatever people say to him, and it doesn't really matter what sort of situation he's in. He prides himself on self-deprecation, which is very highly entertaining, and he's just very, very endearing in a kind of very strange way because he is born of the Lannisters, and the Lannisters are essentially seen as the bad guys a lot of the time. But he is the one who we really root for. He's very endearing and very charming and just very funny. A lot of the things that he says and does are really, really highly entertaining. So yeah, he's definitely got to be one of my favourite characters from this whole series. He is absolutely wonderful, and I always look forward to reading his parts because they are so entertaining and just very, very enjoyable to read. Next, I have a character from the First Law series, which is by Joe Abercrombie. This is Glotka. Glotka is a torturer who basically has had a very hard life. He's had a very harsh reality. He used to be a great knight who fought in the wars, and he was a very, very wonderful character in his youth, but he has since suffered a great injury and he cannot walk very far anymore, and he has become very bitter. Very, very bitter in his older age. He doesn't like seeing people happy, he hates them for it. He has a lot of internal dialogue as well, which we see in his mind a lot, and we see what he's thinking about people a lot, which is hilarious. He is very critical, very, very snappish at people. He doesn't like them, he will make a snap opinion about them, but it's really funny to read about. I love the way that he kind of has this moral struggle all the way through these books of what he wants to do, because he is a kind-hearted person at heart, but he doesn't want to be. He wants to be seen as this cruel torturer, and he doesn't want people to get the wrong idea about him. So he always has this internal struggle about whether he should do the right thing or the wrong thing. He wants to serve his king, but his king seems to be a little bit delusional at times as well, so he has to make some tough decisions about what is right for him to do. But he's just a great character all round, and I think seeing a character who is so flawed being one of my favourite characters means that he's just really, really well put together. And I would say that Joe Abercrombie does make up some absolutely wonderful characters, but Glotka is my favourite, so yeah, definitely one I would highly, highly recommend you read. Next, I have the Looking Glass Wars, which are by Frank Beddor, a character who I'm absolutely in love with from this. This, if you can't tell, is a spin-off of Alice in Wonderland, but this is amazing. I love it, and the character that really makes this so funny and entertaining is the Hatter. The Hatter in this is so wonderful. In Alice in Wonderland, the Mad Hatter is really, really entertaining, but in this, he's just even more so. He's becomes this very kind of gentlemanly Hatter who is very much about style, he's about etiquette, he's about getting everything right and being very, very quick, very prompt with everything, but he also has a crazy side to him. He loves hats, he adores them, and it's just, he's really, really a fun character from all points. I really enjoyed him. He kind of serves as like a great advisor to Alice within this, and he's just a good character. He looks out for people, but he is also a little bit mad, and it's just a very enjoyable combination of personality traits being very reliable and very fun and very enjoyable, but also being a little bit crazy and a little bit happy and a little bit all over the place at times. So he's just a really fun character, and he definitely made this series very entertaining for me. So I would definitely say he's one to watch out for. If you haven't read this series, go read it, because I really loved it, especially if you like Alice in Wonderland, then check this series out. So the next character I have is from The Lives of Locke Lamora, the Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch, and this is obviously Locke Lamora himself. He is awesome. He is the best character in this series by far. He is so funny. He's a trickster, he is a joker, he is a thief, he is so entertaining, he comes up with the best criminal master plans ever, and he's just so enjoyable to read from. His past is very mysterious, he's quite shrouded in mystery a lot of the time, and we don't really know all that much about him even now with the third book having been out. We still don't know all that much about him. We start to see more and more as it goes on. But I just really loved his character. I think he's amazing. He is such an entertaining character, and the fact that all of these books in this series are quite different to each other. They all have their own independent storyline and can pretty much be read as a single book, even though there are connections between each of them. And he really brings each of these different storylines to life, because even if you don't like the storyline, the fact that he is in it, he is so wonderful. So yeah, definitely Locke Lamora is my favourite. He is amazing, and he is very, very funny. Very witty as well. Witty is a good characteristic in a character, I find. I do love witty. But yeah, he really encompasses all of the stuff that you would love in a character. So if you've not read this, I don't know why, because it's amazing, so go and pick it up. The next character that I have is from Harry Potter. It wouldn't be right to not have a character from Harry Potter. And my favourite character from Harry Potter is, again, fairly predictable, I would imagine, but I absolutely adore Dumbledore. Dumbledore makes these books for me. He is so funny, he is so wise, he always seems to know a lot more than he lets on, and he's just a really great character because he is slightly batty. Everyone knows Dumbledore is a little bit crazy in his own head. He's batty, but he knows so much, so he's really a wonderful character. He's enchanting to learn about his history as the story goes on. From day one, he's a great character. He just is. The fact that he loves sherbet lemons and he's the headmaster of this awesome school. He's just a great character all round, and yeah, if you've not read Harry Potter, I'm not sure why, but it's great. So if you've not read Harry Potter or seen the films and you don't know who Dumbledore is, then go and check him out, because Dumbledore is the best character. The next character that I have is another one from Brandon Sanderson, and this is actually a character who appears a lot in a lot of different books throughout his Cosmere series. And so he appears in Way of Kings as the name Wit, and he appears in Warbreaker as the name Hoid. He has other names as well that he appears, and other personalities that he appears under, but he is basically this very interesting character who seems to know a lot about the worlds, and he seems to know a lot more about the universe because he travels from different planets to different planets in the Cosmere, and he's very entertaining. He basically shows up wherever there's action. He's very into appearing at points where there's trouble brewing, or he will take an interest in a certain character who he thinks is going to be important. So wherever he appears within Brandon Sanderson's books, you know that whatever character he's talking to is probably going to become important. He also sort of speaks in riddles a fair amount. He's very kind of confusing in what he says. He hints at a lot of things that are to come later that we don't know about yet, and he's just a very interesting character all round. I think he's certainly one of the best characters. He really makes it interesting. He kind of makes you want to find out what he's talking about and makes you want to continue with the series to investigate what it is he knows. And it's just a really cool idea to have a character who is in multiple books, who appears under multiple personalities, but is kind of a continuous constant throughout all of the books. So he's a really interesting character, and I would highly recommend any of Sanderson's books to you anyway. So yeah, got to get another Sanderson character in there. The next character I have is from a book I only just read, and that is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, and this is the Fowl. The Fowl is very similar to Wit, who I just mentioned. They both have their own way of thinking about things. They're a little bit crazy, they're a little bit interesting, they appear at random times and they speak to people who they think are interesting, and the Fowl is just really interesting because he kind of talks in riddles to our main character. He tells him about stuff that is coming in the future, he warns him about things, but he won't explicitly say this is what you've got to do or this is what you shouldn't do. He will kind of speak in code and riddles, and it's up to our main character to decipher those. But he's just a really cool character. I love his personality in this, and I have no doubt that in the later books he will become much more prominent and much more interesting. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to find out more about him because I've only read this book with him in, but I loved it. So he's definitely on my favourite characters list straight away because he's just really, really cool. Next, I have a character from the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan. The character that I absolutely love in this is Holt. Holt is a ranger. He is the one who trains our main character, and he's just so wonderful. He kind of tests our main character straight away by setting up the test to see if he passes and whether or not he's eligible to become a ranger. And Holt basically knows what is going to happen. He just has a great sense of knowing what people will do. He knows that before they do what they will do and how they will react to a certain situation, and his tests are really easy, interesting and fun, and he's a great character as well. He really helps our little young characters, because this is a middle grade book. He helps the young characters within this to kind of find themselves, to grow and to really develop in the way that they should be. He teaches them about right and wrong. He's very much morally oriented, and he's just a great all-round character who I really enjoy and whom I absolutely love seeing more of from in these books. So I'm hoping that he will continue to show up in the later books as well, because I've only read this one and the second one. But yeah, I really enjoy his character. He's a great kind of upstanding adult that they should all look up to, and that's a great thing to see in a kid's book. It kind of teaches you the right people to be looking up to. Then we have Artemis Fowl from the Artemis Fowl series by Eoin Colfer. I absolutely loved this series when I was younger. Still do, in fact. I think it's a wonderful series. Artemis Fowl is a young kid who basically can crack any code ever, and he is so intelligent. He is the most intelligent boy on earth, no doubt about it, and he essentially hacks into the fairy communications. He finds out that there are fairies, that they exist and that they have their own communications and so on, and he hacks into it and he goes on big adventures sort of working for and against those fairies, and he gets all mixed up in all this trouble. But he is a great character. He's very intelligent. He can figure out all sorts of things, and he's just such a good character. So good. I love these stories. I definitely want to reread them someday because they are so fun. But he really makes them. He makes them interesting, he makes them exciting, and he is the one who we're really rooting for throughout it all. Even though he's a bit of a bad guy in a lot of these stories, we don't really know where his morals lie. He can be a little bit unpredictable, but he is a great character all round. I just love reading about him. The next character that I have is from the Magician series in the Riftwar Saga by Raymond E. Feist, and that is Pug. Pug starts off as a very young boy, and throughout the course of this book he ends up growing into an adult and a very powerful wizard. But he is so cool as a character. He goes from this very quiet boy into this great big personality with a whole load of magic and a whole load of responsibility, and it's just really incredible to see his journey from such a young boy to an older adult full of magic and madness. Basically, he has to become the hero of this plot. He is Very, very cool. He ends up in a lot of trouble, and he gets himself into some sticky situations which he has to get himself out of again, and I would definitely say that his storyline is so well developed throughout Magician that I really enjoyed it, and I think he's a great character. So if you've not read Magician, I would definitely recommend it. I think it's a 100% great book, and Pug really makes it. He is the best character in my mind. Things that he has to face are just incredibly difficult at times, and you always think, how is he going to fix this? How is this going to be okay? But he just makes it okay. So he's a great character, and I think he's a wonderful one, especially since he's from a kind of older generation of fantasy as well. The next character that I have is from the Discworld series, and he is Rincewind. Rincewind is a magician who is very cynical, very pessimistic in everything. He doesn't like to think that good things can happen. He's very much the mindset of, if I don't think anything good will happen, I won't be disappointed. Very cynical, very funny though. He is very entertaining. He's quite a bad magician, to be honest. He doesn't really understand magic particularly well. He's a failed magician, and he's just really entertaining. He gets into all sorts of trouble in these books, and it's just highly amusing to watch him kind of battle it out with Twoflower, who's another character who's very optimistic and kind of his polar opposite. The two of them together is really entertaining, but Rincewind is my favourite because of how cynical he is and how he gets proven wrong and how sometimes he gets proven right. It's very, very funny to read about their little adventures and misdemeanours that they get up to. So yeah, he's a great one as well. Next we have the Kingkiller Chronicles by Patrick Rothfuss. I don't have the first one because my friend is borrowing it, but this character is in both, or he will be in all three, and that is Kvothe. Kvothe is the main character from this series, and he's awesome. Kvothe is essentially a character who has been made out to be this amazing superhero type character. Everyone knows of Kvothe. They know that he is this great wizard who is in control of everything, who has vanished off all these horrible beings, and supposedly he is this wonderful, wonderful guy who has done nothing but good in his life. But Kvothe is really a kind of fairly regular guy. These books are all about his real life. He is telling us the story of his real life. He's very genuine. He approaches everything in a very systematic way, and he kind of explains everything about his life. He doesn't want to let people believe a lie. He wants them to know the truth about him, and he tells his story to this chronicler to get it down on paper so that people will understand that even though he is now legendary, these things aren't all true. They're not necessarily how stuff has happened, and I think he's a fantastic character. The development of this character throughout these books so far, and I'm sure it will continue into book 3, is impeccable. I absolutely love him. I think he is wonderful, and he's just a great character. So if you have not read these books, again, go and pick them up because this character is amazing. The depth and detail that we know about him is so fantastic. Another character from this same series, and who is actually getting her own book later on this year, The Slow Regard of Silent Things, is Ori. Ori is a really interesting character who kind of lives underground in the Underthing, which is a load of sewers and so on, and we don't know much about her, but she is very magical in her own way. She's very quirky, she's very cute, and she has her own way of talking about things and thinking about things. We do get the impression that she's slightly mad. She's the sort of person that you're rooting for and you really want her to succeed, even though we don't really know what she wants from life. She's a really lovely character. The things that she says and these sort of magical ideas that she has are so sweet and so endearing, and I cannot wait for her book to come out because I'm so excited to read and learn about more from her and the Underthing, because she's just such a mysterious character and we really don't know much about her. So I'm hoping that she will be really awesome and exciting to read about when it gets to her, so hopefully that will be soon. But yeah, in November I think it comes out, but I'm so excited for it and I really want to know more about her because she's such a great character. So again, if you've not read these, read these, it's so good. The next characters that I have are both from The Dwarves by Marcus Heights, and the characters that I have are both dwarves, and they are Boendal and Boindale, and they are brothers. They are twin dwarf brothers, and they are hilarious. They are always getting into fights and scrapes with each other. They have quite different personalities. One of them is a fighter and one of them is a lover. They are just so funny as a pair. They kind of bounce off each other and make each other laugh, and they make our main character Tungdil laugh, and they bring a funny and awesome dynamic to the story. They give a lightheartedness to it, but they can really knuckle down and do the work when they want to as well, and when they have to. They're just very entertaining characters. They really make you want to read more and make you enjoy the story a lot more because of their personalities and the fact that they are in that scene or whatever. So I really enjoyed them. I thought they were some of the funniest characters within this, and they really made it just a very enjoyable read. Moving on to a classic by J.R.R. Tolkien, The Hobbit. This book is about Bilbo Baggins, and Bilbo Baggins is a hobbit, as you can guess. He is a great one as well. He is very reluctant to go on this big adventure at first, but when he does go, he commits to it. He becomes this adventurer that we expect him to be, and he becomes this person who has to face a lot of his fears. He really has to go on this massive adventure that he has never expected, never planned for, never even really wanted, and he has to adapt to it, and he does, he really does in a great way. He has a lot of good friends who help him along the way, and it's a fantastic adventure. I would highly recommend this book to you guys. He's just very entertaining. I really enjoyed him. I especially enjoyed him as he grew as a character, and he's very much about loyalty and friendship. He's never going to desert his friends. He's a really, really trusting kind of character who we enjoy a lot. And I think he's a great one, so if you've not read The Hobbit, then do go and pick this one up as well. And the final character that I'm going to mention for now is from Neil Gaiman's Sandman series, and my favourite character from this series so far is Dream himself. Dream is a guy who controls the dream world. He controls nightmares, he controls dreams. He is basically in charge of everything that you could possibly imagine whilst you're asleep. And he is really cool because he's such a forlorn and sad looking character. He's very dark, very mysterious, very much shrouded in darkness. We don't get to see much of his real features, but he's just really awesome. Like, this story is great, and he just makes the story. He's really awesome. I love the fact that we have an illustrated version of him because that really helps to make him a great character in my mind. But he's just a really sad little character who has to kind of overcome a lot in this story. At the very start, he's trapped away in a cage, and we don't know whether he's kind of going to escape and whether he's going to be able to carry on if he does escape, because he kind of seems very defeated at the very start of this story, and we have to see him develop as a character and kind of adapt to being free again and what he wants to do with himself now that he's escaped and so on. So it's a really, really nice story, and he's a great character to be a part of it, and I think he's really mysterious, so I'm sure that in the later volumes he will really become a great character as well, and one that I will enjoy a lot more. But yeah, I don't know that much about him yet, which is why I can't tell you guys that much. But I know that I really like him as a character. I think he's very, very awesome. I think the way he's drawn is cool, and I just like the fact that he's quite a sad-looking, spooky character, but actually he's got a kind heart. Those are, I think, 17 of my favourite characters from various different fantasy books and series. If you've not read any of these books, then you should totally go and read them, especially if you like the sound of any of those characters, or if characters are your thing. Then they're all stories where the characters are very interesting. I would highly recommend all of these books to you guys. I think they're all really great reads. I really love them all. I would also love to know some of your favourite characters. Maybe there is a book on my shelf that you know a great character from that I've totally forgotten. So if that is the case, then do leave me comments down below letting me know your favourite characters. I would be really interested to hear who you can think of off the top of your head. And yeah, I might be doing a kind of second video for this, which will be characters that I love to hate. So characters that are bad guys, but whom I really feel are great characters in their own right, even though they're bad guys. So I might be doing that. Let me know if you're interested in that, and let me know if you have any ideas for that, who you don't like as well. So your favourite and the ones that you love to hate. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for suggesting this video, and I will see you all very soon in my next video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat about the